Hello, everybody. Welcome to We Love Meditation. Please practice meditation daily for 30 minutes and share about meditation with all your friends and family members. If 30 minutes every day is little bit difficult for you, then reduce it by half. Practice meditation for 15 minutes 3 times a week. Once you achieve consistency, then you can increase it to 30 minutes every day. I'm going to read an article from this magazine. It's titled The Secret to Happiness. The Secret of Happiness: How to Find Joy and Live Your Best Life. It's a very interesting magazine. It talks about happiness. It has three sections in this. Part 1: Why Happiness Matters. Part 2: The Pursuit of Happiness. And Part 3: Finding Joy in Every Day. So this magazine has a lot of good ideas. It talks about happiness. It has a lot of interesting articles, and it's a good magazine to add to your meditation library that will give excitement and add variety to your meditation practice. So I'm going to read an article from page 29. The title of the article is The Buddha's Way of Happiness. Incor- Incorporating some ancient teachings into today's lifestyle can help you enhance your own well being. Author is Thomas Bean, and he has a PhD as well. So, The Buddha's Way of Happiness, it's a very nice article. Let's go over it. All of us seek happiness, which is very true. All of us seek happiness, but the ways we go about it often lacks wisdom. Our ways of seeking happiness take on a life of their own. We lose perspective. We have no idea where we are going, but external forces and internal habits push us where we don't want to go. We become like the man carried on the back of a runaway horse. When a bystander asks where he is going, the rider shouts, "Ask the horse." Instead of taking the rein ourselves, we let our ways of seeking happiness run away with us. This is very true. Generally, people associate happiness with some kind of achievement of a particular goal, or having more financial success, a particular job title, or some kind of victory which means defeating somebody else. So many times a person is seeking happiness, or at least they are thinking that they are seeking happiness in something outside of them, and it's like they are on some kind of a horse. They are just running, and they are very active. They feel that they are making a lot of progress, but it's all external driven forces, and it's just their habit or their way of reacting to circumstances and situations. We think that if some success makes us happy, then having lot of success will make us even happier. We imagine that if having enough money is part of being happy, then having more will surely create bliss. Instead of working to support our well being, we allow work to take over our lives, dominating our thoughts even in off hours. Worse still, some of the things we imagine will bring satisfaction and completely wrong headed to begin with. Angry people may imagine they can't be happy unless they exact revenge, but once they've taken revenge, they find it fails to yield the expected satisfaction. So many times, people want a lot of money, lot of financial success. Ambition is good and it's a healthy thing to have. Everybody should aim for being prosperous and being abundant. However, if that takes over your life and you find that you're out of balance, you don't have time to take care of yourself, you're not happy in your relationships, you're consumed by work, and you're obsessed by all your ambition, then it goes into an unhealthy zone. So, ambition is good, keeping it in perspective is more important, and developing the skills and taking some good finance courses, taking some good professional courses, taking some good sales courses, taking some good real estate courses, that's a good idea. Rather than just pushing yourself and overworking yourself, working for 16 hours a day. I remember when I was a consultant in my earlier consultant days, I used to work sometimes 60 hours a week and I was very exhausted and there was no work life balance for me. I did not completely understand how to manage my work. I was so consumed by it. It took me a lot of time and it took me a lot of effort to scale back and to put things in perspective. So I was ambitious, I'm still very ambitious, but what I have learned is to balance my ambition with well being. When we are caught up in an argument, the need to win feels like a matter of life and death, but no one really wins. For even if we do win, we still lose in another more important sense if winning hurts the relationship. That kind of winning only creates more suffering, more isolation, and despair. Many young people, especially who are in a competitive environment, let's say they are in competitive sports or they are in participating in dance competitions or they are launching some kind of product that is very competitive in the market. So they are very much used to win lose situation. Basically, there is a first place, there is a second place, there is a third place, there is a fourth place, and this ranking becomes very important to them. So that becomes their way of thinking. And if they are doing competitive sports or something like that for several years, their mindset is I win, and the only way I can win is if you lose. So this is a wrong mindset. Especially a lot of importance is given to athletes where winning is important and then winning the gold medal is important. So many athletes they go to extreme levels to achieve their results. They will have improper diet, they will take a lot of chemicals, substitutes, they will try to win at any cost. People who are in business, who are having a cutthroat environment, for them also winning is very important. So what happens when they are at home with their family members? They cannot switch back from that winning mindset into a collaborative mindset. Happiness is about collaboration and about well-being and wellness. So going from competitive mindset into collaborative mindset, it's not easy for a person to switch back and forth. So they have a lot of trouble in many of their relationships. They have a lot of trouble when they are put in a situation where collaboration is needed. Even they may be working in teams in their sports and they are collaborating with their team members, but their nature becomes very competitive. So in the long run, they always find themselves less happier than people who place importance on collaboration and well-being. So happiness is kind of an opposing force when it comes to being very competitive, when it comes to winning. So winning will give a temporary sense of happiness, and there is some kind of satisfaction in the moment. But if you analyze 20 years, 30 years, there are only very few athletes who have reached on the top. They are happy because they have got the glory and they have got a lot of financial success. But if you look at the average level athletes, because of their competitive mindset, in the end they have a lot of injuries and they have a lot of negative feelings about life. So the point over here is to keep everything in balance, to understand that happiness is a mindset which is very important to develop, not only in professional life but also in interacting with people on a day to day level. As a young, intellectually inclined person, I used to think happy people were rather superficial. I equated intelligence with skepticism and even cynicism. Anything else seemed unintelligent. Gradually, I have come to appreciate being happy. I now see that being happy in the midst of the difficulties of human life is a wonderful art, a great accomplishment. Learning to be happy is perhaps the most important skill we can develop in life. So that's very true. Happiness is actually a skill. So sometimes we suddenly feel happy and we may not know why. The fundamental reason for happiness is our expectations out of life. So if we expect that we earn X dollars per month, and if we are making more than that X dollars, then generally we are happy. Then what happens in the mind is we feel, oh, I'm making good money. So now if I have 2x, then that will make my happiness double. But that may not be the case because in order to reach 2x, you have to compromise on many things in life and your happiness may go half. So all the linear logic does not work with happiness. Happiness is an art. Sometimes having three friends, you will be happy. So you may feel, okay, let's go for movie, let's have fun. And then let's say you meet two or three new people and you want to spend time with them. So you may feel, oh, these two new friends are really good. Let me go hang out with them. But what happens is now you cannot manage your time spending with five people, with five friends. Then you're struggling to be either with these old friends of yours or with your new friends, and it creates a lot of complication. Eventually, you get bored and you've lost your old friends and you're not getting along very well with your new friends either. So your happiness, instead of increasing, it has decreased. It's not very apparent when it's happening, but when you look and you analyze over several years, these things come up. So balance is the key to happiness, and having healthy goals and reasonable goals, that is what creates happiness. So sometimes if you win some money, that will make you happy. So let's say if you win $100 or you win $200, you are very excited, you're very happy. But really the $200 is the same thing as the $200 that you make at work. But you are associating more emotional energy with something that you unexpectedly got. So that creates a sense of happiness, and it's abstract. It's not, if you look at it logically, the amount is the same. So happiness is a skill, and keeping the logic in place first gives more clear perspective. Another example is when it comes to eating food. Generally, a person is happy when they eat chocolates or they eat ice cream, and they are happy, senses get triggered. So nobody will eat ice cream and start crying, or nobody will eat chocolate and start crying. Generally, these things make a person feel happy. The reason is our body is so tuned to sugar, and Mother Nature, the way it designed the fruits was to give the indication to the body that eating fruits is a good sign, and it's good for the body. So now, when the same sugar is put in ice cream and chocolates, the ice cream and chocolates are giving the same signal to the body. So, in the moment, a person feels very happy that they have got this sweet food, but in reality, it is bad for the body. It The sugar is converted into fats, and in the long run, it creates a lot of health issues. So, happiness is an art. Keeping things in balance is what creates happiness. So, here there is more about happiness. Buddhism and the path to happiness. How can we learn to be happy? To learn about happiness and well being, we have many sources available to turn to. Psychology can help, therapy can help, books and workshops can help. At the same time, we should not neglect the great spiritual traditions of the world. These traditions were hammered out over centuries. They have survived the test of time. Some of the wisest and brightest people who ever lived reflected on and added to these traditions. Because spiritual traditions grew in times and circumstances different from our own, we can't simply apply them in their original form to our time and circumstances. But the fundamental struggles of human life haven't changed. It would be tragic to neglect these streams of wisdom as if we were orphans in the universe who had to puzzle it all out from scratch on our own. So it's very true. All our tradition, cultures, they have the formula for happiness. Some of the rituals may not seem appropriate for our times, and because technology has taken over in the last few decades, their progress is made in science and medicine. Many of the concepts and rituals may seem outdated. However, for each spiritual tradition, the fundamental principles still hold true, and studying those teachings and practicing those methods in our life now, it helps to keep the body in balance, it helps to keep the mind in balance, it helps to keep the emotions in balance, and this is what gives happiness. So that's very important, to study all these different rituals, but not to be completely blind about everything. To The goal is to find and understand the principles, and then look at our own life and apply those principles in our life. A good way to look at this is in engineering school, they will teach us about the internal combustion engine, and that does not necessarily mean that the student can go out and build an internal combustion engine on their own. They have to then go to the workshop floor and take some more training over there, understand all how the fuel system works, how the pistons work, and then maybe after few years they will be able to design their own internal combustion engine, which is having more efficiency and more the fuel efficiency is much better. So anytime when we learn some theory, to apply it into practice, it will take some time. And the same thing with the spiritual practice. What is taught by spiritual teachers and by different organization, that is the theory and the concept. Blindly, it cannot be applied into an individual's life. We have to take it, analyze it, and then try out a few times, and eventually we get the rhythm right and it starts working for us. So, with all these spiritual traditions, try to get to the core fundamental teachings and through meditation, practice that into the day to day life. We can learn from every spiritual tradition. From Christianity, we learn that grace is central. From Judaism, the value of a moral life led in earnest, a life of service and good deeds. From Islam, the value of surrender to God. From Hinduism, that we are not separate from the divine. And from Taoism, the value of quietude and non struggle. A spiritual tradition that's appropriate for helping us find happiness today needs to meet certain criteria. It needs to be humanistic, helping us unfold our human potential. In an age of science, it needs to be empirical, at least in the sense of being based on experience rather than authority. It needs to be non dogmatic to keep from creating more barriers and division in the world. And it needs to be psychologically grounded, helping us deal with our worries, sadness, and anxiety. Buddhism meets these conditions almost perfectly. First, Buddhism has a strong humanistic element. For all his deep insights, the Buddha never claimed and even explicitly denied being a god. And since he is not a god, he reveals what's possible for all human beings. He did it. You can do it. This is a high estimation of human capability. Second, Buddhism has an empirical attitude, offering practices and insights as ways of working, trusting you to see for yourself whether these methods lead to inner transformations. Teachings are offered in the spirit that since others have had this experience, so can you. If that doesn't happen, take another approach. Buddhism urges us not to take anything on blind faith, but to follow the recommendations and see for ourselves. So, over here, the author is bringing all the different religions and highlighting all the important points, and also bringing our focus on Buddhism, where in Buddhism, the teachings is the most important and the practice is the most important. So, every religion has amazing good value, good fundamental principles, and the more we study the religions, the fundamental principles are all the same in every religion. The rituals and some of the processes are different, and it has evolved over different cultures and over centuries. So, the focus should be on the core principles, and when studying any spiritual practice or any religious practice, the more we focus on the core principles, that improves our level of happiness because we understand how it can be applied to our life and we can make good and wise decisions, especially given all the new scientific discoveries and inventions that have happened over the past century. Now we have a lot more information and we don't have to blindly believe what was happening in the past. So we can use our mind, we can use our analytical abilities, we can study all these teachings, core beliefs, and then start applying that into our life and have a more systematic and well rounded approach to life that takes care of our mind, that takes care of our body, that takes care of our emotions. Buddhism is relatively non dogmatic. The Buddha always stressed that his teachings can be taken as skillful means rather than ultimate truth. It is a path to follow, not a dogma to defend. The Buddha said that we have to let go of true teachings, let alone untrue ones. Wait, what? The Buddha said that we have to let go of true teachings, let alone untrue ones. So, what it means over here is Don't get too much complicated things into your life. Just live life simply and try to discover your own truth, what works for you in your own life. So if some process or some ritual works for you and you can find your balance and it makes you happy and it can be sustained over the years, then that's a good thing. You can continue practicing that. Of course, faith in God or a supreme being may mean important to you, and you can easily integrate this into your approach towards happiness. But the Buddhist emphasis is on practice. You don't have to believe anything, you don't have to defend anything. Follow the trail of your own experience. If you want to be happy and free from suffering, do the practice and see for yourself. So, what is being emphasized over here is you should not have blind faith. What is important is your day to day skills. So, let's say you study something in finance, that doesn't mean that you will become rich. You still have to practice it in the real world. You have to work or have a successful business, and then you will be able to generate income and you will get paid your salary. So, taking the finance course doesn't mean you will become very successful and wealthy. So you have to learn real life skills, you have to practice it, you have to understand how the world works, and then that will make you happy. So, having real life skills is very important. Learning to meditate is very important. Learning to take care of your body through proper exercise and healthy diet is very important. Learning to keep your emotions in control, in balance, and in check, that is also very important. Not to get overly excited and overly optimistic and create castles in the air or have too high ambitions, because that is on the extreme side. At the end, if you don't achieve those, you will be disappointed. Also, having sadness, disappointment, regret, and loneliness or shame for too long, that is also unhealthy. So reach out to friends, family members, or professionals who can help and guide you, or guide somebody that you know who can bring them into a comfortable, centered, and balanced place. So this is the article. It's a very beautiful article. It talks about happiness, how to stay in balance, how to incorporate teachings from different spiritual and religious practices, trying these practices out on your own and seeing what works for you in your own real life. So, always finding happiness is important, and learning to be happy is a skill. It's not like a on and off switch button that you are happy today and you are unhappy if something outside your circumstances does not work out. So that should not be the criteria. You have to practice real life skills, you have to practice meditation, you have to understand your limitations, you have to set healthy goals for yourself, you have to learn to be competent and be successful in life, then you will be happy. You cannot depend on some other person to make you happy, because another person's job is not to make you happy. They have to take care of their own health, their own finances, their own well being. And then, if they have energy left, they can share some energy with you. But you should not rely on other people to make you happy. You have to learn to be happy yourself by developing your personality, by developing your skills, by developing your mindset. That is the key to happiness. Balance is the key to happiness. Looking inward for answers is the key to happiness. So, the author over here has done a very beautiful job. Let me read a little bit about the author. Thomas Paine, PhD, is the author of The Buddha's Way of Happiness, Healing Sorrow, Transforming Negative Emotions, and Finding Well-being in the Present Moment. So this author has written a lot of books, and you can look up for these books online. Once again, this book is The Secret of Happiness. You can order it online. It's a very good book. It has a lot of good articles, and please practice meditation for 30 minutes every day and share about meditation with all. If you're finding 30 minutes every day difficult to put into your schedule, then reduce it by half. Meditate for 15 minutes 3 times a week. Once you're able to achieve consistency, then you can increase 30 minutes every day. I hope this article and this video has helped you. Have a great day. Bye.